The much loved Puffing Billy Railway is one of the most popular heritage steam railways in the world. The line opened in 1900 to serve the local community, but has operated successfully as a tourist operation since humble beginnings in the 1955. It was really born from a resilience of local volunteers, and it's a little sort of side journey into resilience I'd like to sort of start on. You see there, the early design development phase saw the CEO and the board stood down and replaced due to the Victorian Ombudsman's report on serious historic governance issues dating back many decades, a major challenge for the project early. And then whilst COVID has impacted all, but special mention of the 270 days we were absent from site during the construction period there. In particular, I'd like to note Emily Slevin, the project architect, who's joining me today, for an incredible effort during that time. And in fact, the incredible pride of the team is testament to this forming of a bond between the client, the TERROIR team, the sub-consultants and the contractor. In recent times, Puffing Billy has experienced unprecedented growth, exceeding capacity on the first half of the line, but only 10% of visitors were travelling the second half. To ameliorate this bottleneck, a new visitor centre was proposed at Lakeside Station here, the midpoint of the line. The station overlooks Emerald Lake Park, which was once part of the largest plant nursery in the Southern Hemisphere, and behind is native bushland. This location enabled a contemporary functional centre that pays respect to the heritage, people and places of the railway. The inherited master plan proposed a 2,500 square metre building somewhat separate to the existing Lakeside Station. We sought for the building not to be detached from, but intrinsically grow out of the existing station. We looked to extending the platform, something that is seen in these photos to constantly change over time, but always retain that function of alighting to and from the trains. Along this platform, the varied functions and operations of the brief could be arranged in a form that regularly switches back to mimic the railway journey and create desirable indoor and outdoor conditions, such as catering for the paraphernalia that goes with trains, and then providing beautiful outdoor spaces for the sunny cafe terrace. Often in tourism projects, there is pressure to build a new experience or icon where there is not already one. The challenge here was to actually build upon the existing dimensions and experiences that Puffing Billy brought, and not replace or stand out from those. Our strategy was to focus on existing characteristics of the railway, creating a visitor experience anchored within the authentic sights, smells and sounds of it. On the rail bend is the railway crossing from the hillside parking down to the lake, and then from the left is where the train arrives from Belgrave, and the new building picks up visitors in a walkway that becomes the building beyond the bend, and a new railway siding accompanies this new building to the right. The linear arrangement of carriage-like functions is simple, legible and accessible to the many types of visitors. Tickets and admin, then retail, then cafe at the broad bend, then returns to kitchen and amenities, a multi-purpose and ultimately the Great Hall. These functions take on unique singular colour palettes representative of the colours of the railway, such as the deep blue of the engineers' uniforms used in the back of house for the staff areas. This diagram represents a few things we're going to see: the platform anchoring the site, the sequence of carriage-like functions of the next layer up, which break around and provide these little nooks between, the railway trestle bridge inspired walkway, the skeletal structure inside, and finally the straight line cladding used for both roof and wall planes, which presents the building as a singular object between the two landscapes. This diagram is how we see the building as an instrument through which multiple dimensions of the site are experienced. The design grows out of the existing Lakeside Station here on the right, expanding in scale as it moves along, and you see the context of the native bushland in the park below. Here also in oblique that relationship and the building very much between those two landscape contexts. It's hidden when viewed from the lake below. Darkness brings a curious presence though. Further up the hill, an undulating long form appears on the hillside. This backdrop here to the railway crossing is an important one. The building recedes into the shadows of the native bush behind. And note the serrated top edge which assists this connection. The custom ridge flashings at the junction between the wall and roof cladding create unbroken standing seam ribs which continue the verticality up to the bush. The rhythm of the standing seams create depth and visual interest through the length of the shadows cast across the facade at various times during the day. And this one shows that monochrome ground plane, the platform, and how the walkway inside comes down and kisses that outside the cafes to allow views over, and then gradually rises back up. And then sort of a horizontal slot, sort of a terrace appears. The cafe terrace, a sunny and sheltered sort of spot. The building's colour-bond monument, matte cladding, resembles the signature black locomotives that pull up. Occasional pleat-like openings in the enclosure hint at the interior. So let's go inside. Visitors usually arrive under a blackened timber walkway from the existing Lakeside Station. And a journey along 150-metre long, elongated internal space with uninterrupted trackside views. Here you can see that dip in the sort of ground plane to allow the view out over the sort of cafe to the sort of track. This features a Vic Ash rough sawn timber finish with an imprinted rhythm of structure that is inspired by the long winding trestle bridges that are so important for the Puffing Billy experience. So therefore the connection is made in both the physical sort of view out and also that sort of psychospatial sort of means of remembering sort of the trestle bridges. At the midpoint, the sort of approach into the sort of the cafe, and the sort of view uphill to the left and over to the park is really sort of holding the cafe in this sort of suspended state between the two landscapes. And the ceiling gives the impression of a railway workshop. The circulation space is punctuated at key junctions by these nooks formed of black express framing. The pleated skylights within these nooks provide alternate views back to the Australian bush and provide a contradictory scene to the European park that's seen sort of along the continuous glass facade as per the sort of image on the right. But further along that sort of continuous walkway, you see that continuous window trackside. In an interpretive sense, the visitor moves from the wider landscape to a more specific journey into the world of Puffing Billy, culminating in here, the Great Hall. In the distance is Loco 3A, a much loved and prized sort of salvaged precious artifact of the railway. 12 tonne, it was installed early on, the space was built around it. The undulating ground plane is carried through the internal spaces, such as the Great Hall, where visitors slowly descend down through the sort of the object. Visitors leave with a greater understanding of the stories of the railway, the people, and the place. And this is
1 minute remaining.
Loco 3A looking back up. Moving back outside under a timber pleat, the building alongside the new siding, a silhouette backdrop grounded in place and not overpowering. To the real hero that is the Puffing Billy Railway. Thank you.